Welcome to the Geek 101 podcast, episode 221, To Infinity and Beyond, Ad Astra, and Other Space Movies. I do what I do because of my dad. I'm Ariel Rada.
And I'm Andy Bowman.
All right, today we are going to do a Should You Watch on Ad Astra, the recent Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones film with a plethora of cameo and supporting cast famous supporting cast members. But before that, also, we're going to talk about a bunch of other space movies and kind of compare and contrast and maybe even rank those movies a little bit. But we do have news first. And Andy, why don't you share the biggest piece of most predictable news I've ever seen in my life?
Spider-Man's back in the MCU, baby.
Yeah, it was, we were so concerned and we were so scared and everybody saw this coming. So
yeah, that's right. Spider-Man is back in Untitled Far From Home sequel. Now, I'm guessing it's going to be called Going Home.
Jeez, Andy. If it is, I'm going to be so mad, but also like, bravo. It'd be so dumb. That's the worst name ever. Oh my God. Like I said, nobody really predicted that this movie wasn't gonna happen, that they weren't gonna make a deal. It's just too profitable on both sides of the deal, for that being Sony and Disney, for it not to happen. But like you've noted here, this means we'll get 4 MCU films in 2021. Andy, do you have those 4 films written somewhere?
Oh, yes, I do. Okay, we're getting Shang-Chi right away at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
All right, February. Then, in May, we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
And first weekend in May. Then, we get, on July 16th, we get Spider-Man Coming Home.
Sure. Yeah, Spider-Man Coming Home. Go on.
Followed by...
Right. All right, go ahead.
Followed by November, we get Thor, Love and Thunder.
Okay. That is a lot of movies. Like you said, the most, or I don't know if you said it, but that is the most in one calendar year that we've ever gotten.
Right. In one 12-month period, though, we have gotten more.
Sure. Okay. That makes sense. So calendar year is applicable and appropriate for that description. There's this funny bit that one of my favorite podcasts does, where it's like a P scale, where it's like how worried are you? You're gonna wet your pants out of nervousness over something's gonna happen or not happen. Like a 1 being like I'm not worried at all, and a 10 being like I'm gonna pee my pants. I'm so worried. My P scale was at most a 2 during the whole time. I never really doubted that this was gonna get done.
Yeah, and apparently, from a reliable, and I use that, in quotes, because leakers are almost never quite reliable. So Disney was considering just buying Spider-Man from Sony.
Wow. That's crazy and awesome.
And, well, this is even crazier, though. The reported price tag. How much do you think that Disney would pay for Spider-Man?
I would go $1 billion. What was it?
I need to double check, but the one that I read was a whopping $10 billion.
Oh my God! Seriously?
That's what.
No
that is what I
way.
read, and now, like, to put that in perspective, they paid $4 billion for all of LucasArts.
Exactly. That's why I don't think that it.
Okay. This is what we got from incredibly reliable news source that I believe is just all about clickbait. We got this covered.
Okay, yeah, they're clickbait.
Sony reportedly wanted $10 billion for Spider-Man rights, and Disney was considering it.
That's wild. I would never.
Well, and I don't like, if you stop and think about it. If that fails, what does Sony have?
Yeah, they don't really.
Right?
Yeah,
if they
right.
give up Spider-Man, they don't have anything else. And for $10 billion, I can guarantee you, it was going to be Venom and everything all rolled into one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe that's why they felt that they could jack the price up so much, is because like, oh, you got to get Venom and you got to get Morbius and you got to get.
Oh god.
know?
Morbius is still happening.
Ariel,
Morbius is coming out in less than a year.
It is indeed, Andy. It is indeed. I think, see, to me, and this is a personal thing, I'm just not a big fan of these Spider-Man movies. I think they're all absolutely fine.
You shut your mouth.
I'm just not, I don't.
What?
I don't, they're fine. I think they're good movies, but also I think you lose a lot of value in their obsessive need to stay so committed to the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, in another world, the Spider-Man movies are of a similar quality without that plot point, and I'm probably way higher on them. But like, you can't make every Spider-Man movie a Iron Man adjacent film, and I would have been curious just to see what that looks like. But yeah, that's my concern with the Spider-Man movies.
Well, in Spider-Man Homeward Bound, we are probably going to get, a good deal of Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel, something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Homeward Bound. But yes, Spider-Man is coming back. And this is from somebody, Andy, who as a kid, like, I only had two sets of toys. They were Spider-Man toys and they were Batman toys. And partially because of the animated shows, and so therefore those were the ones with the big toy licenses. But also I really love Spider-Man, and I'm hoping for better days to come for that property. Anything else about this before we move on to our next piece of news?
Nope. Just look forward to Spider-Man Leaving Home coming in July 2021.
Spider-Man Home Bodies, where he just
it's just him eating bonbons on a couch.
Yep. That's the dream. Okay. Next piece of news. We did get a Stranger Things 4 teaser. I would say teaser?
It was an announcement.
Sure, announcement.
With the words, "We're not in Hawkins anymore."
Yes, because they're in Russia at this point. I mean, there is, on the P scale, right? I was actually higher on the P scale for... No, that's not true. I knew this was coming back. I had really not much of a concern. This is a great property, and I want them to... I don't want it to be canceled. I want it to end.
See, my entire fear with this is that my predictions of a Christmas special are not going to come true.
Oh man, that does suck. That'd be awesome if they had a Christmas special.
Yeah. Also, the Duffer Brothers did sign a first look deal with Netflix.
Okay. I think I just read recently J.J. Abrams signed a first. Nope. Jordan Peele signed a first look deal with Universal.
Okay. Yeah. These things are getting a little bit more common, as they want creators and they want solid content creators whose names they can push. So of course they want, this is turning kind of back into the Hollywood studio system, right?
Yeah. Yep. Interesting how both this and streaming service were kind of coming full circle. Excuse me. But yeah, interesting. Last piece of news, or second to last piece of news, Marvel Studios is taking over all live action TV projects. There are rumors that what's his name? Matt Murdock is going to return in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps even in a Spider-Man movie.
Cool. Great. I've got not much more to say about that. It's like, cool. They're just controlling everything, and I'm fine with that. If they want to do this overarching story thing, that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The last piece of news we have is that the Birds of Prey trailer has recently dropped. Andy, what did you think about this trailer?
It was #fabulous.
Oh gosh. I have fully acknowledged that this movie is not marketed towards me, nor is it meant for me. I'm not the target audience, and therefore, I probably won't. I probably won't, have a ton of value behind my opinion on it.
Okay.
I just it's hard for me to sit here and be like, yeah, I think this, and this, and this, but ultimately it's not for me. So I don't know what else there is to say.
Question, Ariel: is this going to be rated R?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm largely uninterested in this.
Okay. I'm actually pretty interested in this. I thought it looked really pretty, and you know what? I always really wanted to see Ewan McGregor doing an impression of David Tennant's Purple Man.
Sure.
And that looks like that's what we're getting, is black mask, but he's not wearing a mask.
Yeah, they are taking the like various, they're taking Black Mask and Cassandra Cain and a bunch of other people, characters, and they are presenting them in ways that we would not recognize, and totally changing who those characters are. So I'm curious as to how these characters are going to end up.
Yeah. And it looks like it's kind of harping a little bit from Deadpool.
Yes, I am not. See, like I don't particularly like Harley Quinn, so I'm not just don't. I personally don't care, but there are people out there who don't care about Deadpool, and I thought that movie was really fun. So
yeah, yeah, but we'll be talking about this the first weekend in February.
Yeah, sure. Andy, before we move on,
that's 4 months away, by the way.
February. Wow, that's closer than it seems. School started, and my brain is a puddle of mush. Before we move on to away from our new segment into our next segment, what is a way that the listeners can support this show?
Okay, listeners, first things first. If you have not gone to iTunes, and if you have not filled out a beautiful review, 5 stars, please do that. That is the best thing you can do in order to do that. And remember, if we get 26 more ratings.
Oh, no.
Yes, Ariel will watch Batman versus Superman. Or Superman versus Batman. I can't remember which one.
Since I've never looked at it again. After
Dawn of Justice. Followed by, okay, this is the new thing that I haven't even asked Ariel if he's willing to do. But we're going to stream that of a live viewing of the R-rated Snyder Cut.
Oh.
Then a half-hour break where Ariel has to sit and watch the 2008 Wonder Woman pilot.
With the Joss Whedon one?
For the CW.
Oh, jeez. Andy, I don't like things. Why are you making me watch these terrible, terrible things?
Well, you know what? You can always just tell the listeners not to do this.
No. You should absolutely.
Right. Well, seriously though, if we get 26 more ratings, we're still at 74 ratings on iTunes. We need 100. If we can get that, fun things will happen.
Yeah, for sure. But the best way to support a podcast, of course, is to just share it with your friends. Spread it by word of mouth. I think if people, hear that you enjoy listening to the Geek 101 podcast, they will be more inclined to listen to the Geek 101 podcast. So make sure to share the show with your friends. All right, Andy, we are bringing back a segment, and this is your first time on this segment. It's one of my favorite segments that we did not do often enough with Mike. It is Geek Royalty. The existing members of Geek Royalty are Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and I think we put Stan Lee in there. But ultimately, it is a hall of fame of the most prominent and respected members of the geek, media right? People like Patrick Stewart, or as an actor, Ian McKellen as an actor. You look at somebody who we will get to in future episodes, like J.J. Abrams, like Carl Urban. But today, in relation to Ad Astra, we're going to look at two names that I don't quite think will make the cut, but perhaps they will. Tommy Lee Jones and Brad Pitt. So, Andy, what are your thoughts before we get onto it of our current Geek Royalty members, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, and we'll go Stanley and Jack Kirby. Those are kind of unassailable Geek Royalty.
Yeah. I really, I can't think of anything bad to say about them. I know Mike had his problems with Stan Lee and his business practices, which, I would just say that was the 60s, and as crappy as it was, that's how business was
what it was,
and done. But Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, yeah, there's just no doubt that those guys belong there. They are royalty, and just like royalty should be, they are both white men.
Yeah, and we have too many white men, but also that is historically what many actors and such have been a part of. So after today's episode, we will perhaps look at, or we will definitely look at, including more than a haul of the white Wonder Bread of Geek Royalty that we have.
Yeah, Ariel and I have a list that we've been working on.
Yes, absolutely. A couple of wonderful, wonderful women on that list. I think, which we'll get to quite soon. Definitely in September. I think we'll discuss 3 names. Spoiler alert: Star Wars names. That I definitely have to be talked about. Maybe not even talked about, but definitely have to be discussed in their introduction, or into their inclusion of Geek Royalty. So let's look at Tommy Lee Jones and his career in geek media, Andy.
Okay. Well, starting up, we've got Batman Forever.
Batman Forever, where he plays Two-Face. Okay. Anything else?
Men in Black.
Well, obviously that's the big one, right? The big one here is Men in Black, where he plays Agent K. This is his, you put this on the Hall of Fame plaque. He's in 3 different Men in Black movies.
He's also in Captain America: The First Avenger.
He is. He's in Small Soldiers. Bro, I love myself some Small Soldiers. I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm sure the movie's terrible, but
no, I know exactly how you feel about that. Me too.
He's in Space Cowboys.
That was actually a surprise movie I was going to bring up for our space movies. Thank you for ruining that.
So this is based off of a novel, and so you nerds out there, right? You book nerds, and I'm a book nerd myself. It's not a derogatory term, but he is in and has been lauded for his performance in No Country for Old Men.
Yes,
I don't think that. Yes, I just don't think that weighs enough in our discussion here.
Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and just say what needs to be said about Tommy Lee Jones.
Okay,
this man is not a geek, and I think if you're gonna be in the geek royalty, you have to have something about you that is that obsessive nature that a nerd or a geek has, and I do not believe that Tommy Lee Jones has that.
Okay, yeah. I think if he had one more role to the geeky caliber, let's use that phrasing. This is such a weird conversation. To the geeky caliber of Agent K, I think it's a much better discussion. But at this point, I just don't think he makes it.
No, I don't think he does. I don't even think Volcano can save him.
But he can save us from the volcano.
You mean by asking us to move?
Yeah. Okay, all right. Another name here that I don't think is an obvious look, but let's talk about Brad Pitt and maybe his introduction in geek royalty.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go through some of his filmography here.
Okay.
I'm trying to pick out the ones that I think are appropriate. I think Interview with a Vampire.
Okay.
I think Seven makes it.
Mm-hmm.
12 Monkeys.
Definitely.
Fight Club?
I would say so. I think Fight Club makes it for being one, a great starting point to, film in general, and something that a lot of people are, a lot of people like and a lot of people are passionate about, especially the alt-right.
It's just like, it's just one of those things where you're just like, oh man, like you just missed it, right? You just missed the point. Troy, for sure.
Okay, yeah.
He's the voice of Sinbad in that cartoon. Benjamin Button. Not necessarily geeky, but it's definitely a fantasy movie.
Okay.
Fantasy-esque. Megamind.
Yeah.
Geeky of a different sort. Moneyball.
Yes, I will absolutely fight for that to be a geek movie.
Because that's a nerd movie, right? Moneyball.
Oh yeah. That is so far in the weeds of math and numbers.
Right. Yes. Undeniable. With World War Z.
Yeah.
He has a cameo in Deadpool 2.
One of the best cameos.
Yeah. Of course, he is in Ad Astra, which we're talking about today. All right. A lot of fringe stuff here. Now, I'm going to bring up two movies that are like, right? I think we'll have to go to the audience for this. Two movies, two franchises, so to speak.
Okay.
For the first one, the Ocean's movies. Are those geeky films?
They are films I am geeky about. That is what I would say.
Okay, and then the other one is Inglourious Bastards.
Okay. Now, I'm going to bring up two movies, Ariel, or actually three movies that I think that you should have considered.
Okay, go on. Yeah, go on. Interesting.
Cool World.
Cool World. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it.
Whoa. Oh, man. Okay, so imagine Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
But terrible.
Yeah, but then like... so it's hard for me to like credit someone unless it was like a passion project and that like runs through his filmography. Like that's a tough one for me to take that into account.
That's fine. Okay. I thought it might be something to bring up, but if you feel that that's not something that we can do, well, I do have a few other things that he was involved in. Okay.
Go on.
Now, I do know you don't like this movie, but he was a producer on Kick-Ass.
I think his producer credit is something we really have to consider, right? Yeah, I agree with that. He was a producer on Kick-Ass. While I did not like the film and its sequels, it certainly is in the discussion for geek royalty and it should be on anyone's geek royalty resume.
Right. Other than that, I would just say that the fact that he was the narrator on Voyage of Time, which is a space documentary, does say something.
Yes. So, for example, if, I think somebody like Richard Attenborough would certainly have to be considered for
right
geek royalty. I think we should. I think this one we table. I think Tommy Lee Jones is a hard no.
Yeah. That wasn't even a question for me.
Yeah. I agree with you there. This one I think we have to table. There's a lot of information to look at. I think if you're looking at his producer credits, you have Ad Astra. You have Okja. You've got World War Z. You have Moneyball and The Big Short. You have an upcoming film based off of Shakespeare plays called The King. You said Voyage of Time. He's a producer on, but it's close. He's not a home run.
Okay. Now, I'm going to say something that I think actually puts him firmly in the negative here.
Okay.
Okay. Brad Pitt has a thing for always playing the unquestioningly like good guy. Now, when I say that, I mean in 12 Years a Slave and in I'm trying to think of The Big Short, right? He is not only is he a producer, but he's, in 12 Years a Slave, he plays a Canadian who thinks slavery is wrong. And then in The Big Short, he plays the guy who lets them know, like, hey, you're making all this money, but it's going to be because everyone's losing their job. You shouldn't be cheering this. He always seems to be, ever since he's gained the fame, he seems to have been a guy who picks himself out to play a character that's very overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, that is certainly a bit counter geek cultural. Should we include Mr. and Mrs. Smith on his geek royalty resume?
Are there people who don't like that movie?
I don't know. I think it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a completely enjoyable film.
Right.
Movie.
Overall, though, I think Brad Pitt ends up being not a geek or a nerd, but a guy who appreciates the art of acting and just kind of wants to do a bunch of it. I don't think that qualifies him to be in geek royalty.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I think I still think he has the chance to earn it with producer credits or film credits. Who knows? And he's definitely not a hard no. But I like, you said I don't think Tommy Lee Jones geeks about anything. I think Brad Pitt definitely geeks about stuff. I think that's the difference.
Yeah, and I do also think that for the most part, he does have a good sense of humor about himself. If you look at all of his credits, he plays himself a lot.
Well, he only plays one thing. He plays guy. He plays guy eating, or he plays like stoic, attractive man. Those are his two things. So, which and if the script calls for it, he'll eat something.
Sometimes if it doesn't.
Sure. But yes, it's certainly much more of a conversation than Tommy Lee Jones. I think if a few years down the road, Brad Pitt is playing Captain America in an old Avengers film. I don't know, like a grizzled old man Cap or something like that.
Right.
I think we revisit this conversation.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Brad Pitt definitely isn't, spoiler alert for far, far, far in the future when we get to him, Karl Urban.
Yeah, no, Karl Urban is definitely we're certainly having a much different conversation with that. All right, that is our Geek Royalty segment. No inductions rather into the hall at this moment. But I'm sure in our next segment when we get it, maybe either in November or definitely the one in December, spoiler alert, with Star Wars, we will start to include people into the Geek Royalty Hall of Fame. But listeners, if you have somebody you would like to nominate that is related to an episode, we are definitely going to do this segment more often. Bare minimum once a month, we'll get back to the segment.
Now, Ariel, would you say that Brad Pitt is like on the other side of the velvet rope? Like he's waiting, right? The bouncer's trying to evaluate whether or not he should be allowed in.
The bouncer? No, it's the Royal Guard, Andy.
Oh, yes.
How dare you?
The King's Guard.
This is the King's Guard. Yes, the King's Guard of the Geek Royalty Palace, so to speak. Yeah, I think he's, we have the phrase, there are X amount in line. I certainly think he is in line, and not a commoner like Tommy Lee Jones is.
That's right. Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones can get to the back of the line.
Sure, yeah. Okay, that is our Geek Royalty segment. Let's move on to a discussion, a quick should you watch on Ad Astra. But before that, Andy, what did you think?
Okay, so Ad Astra, I think, is best described as annihilation in space. I think that's what you said, Ariel. went
Yes,
ahead
that's
and
what
took.
you mentioned. Annihilation, and
Yeah.
I messaged you Annihilation, but in space.
It is a slow, contemplative science fiction movie.
Yes, absolutely.
If you
What? Go on.
if you do not like thinking about the place that humanity has in the universe, or what it is to be alive, which, to be perfectly honest, sometimes those things kind of give me like anxiety attacks.
Sure.
So I don't.
Sure.
This is not any mood kind of movie. This is not Avengers. This is a slow burn of a watch. And if you like 2001: A Space Odyssey, or you like Annihilation, I think that this movie won't live up to either of those, but it will kind of scratch that itch.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Anything else? Any other thoughts?
If you like random monkeys showing up,
Oh no.
that is not
You
a
did it,
spoiler,
Andy.
because you will not be able to guess when the monkey shows up.
Okay. All right. Here are my thoughts. I think at Astra has a very high production value. I think Brad Pitt has a pretty good performance in it. I don't think the script is as smart as the movie is produced. I actually think the script is really dumb. I think what happened is there's no subtlety to the there's no subtlety to the message, and there are certain plot points that are like in Annihilation. You're everything that happens, you fully believe is a function of what's happening in the film. And in Ad Astra, everything that happens, you can tell they were like, what can we make happen next? And so they did it. And I just don't. It's like an A plus on the execution, and like a D on the script, on the writing. So to me, like I ended up like walking out of the movie because I just didn't, after a certain point. So for me, time is very very valuable. During the school in the summer, I'll sit through anything. I don't care. I have time. During the school year, time is very very valuable, and I found that I did not need to know, or I did not need to see how something played out, because I had already guessed what was going to play out. And for a space movie, right? For a slow paced but well crafted space movie, I need the people writing that film to be smarter than me. And I don't think they are in terms of what they decided was going to be like the plot points of the movie.
Yeah, this does feel very much. I know that this movie did go through extensive reshoots too.
Oof.
And nowhere is it made clearer than the end, which you missed, Ariel. Yeah, this is an interesting movie that also tries to be. I'm trying to think of the right way. Ultimately, I think this movie is anti-science.
Yes,
And
because
we'll talk about that in the spoilers, and I don't think that that's a thing that anyone really wants out of a space movie.
Right. It is strange. They are definitely and you can see it, right? There's prayers and talking about God and blah 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 and all this littered throughout the film. And of course,
and we'll talk about that, because it's a weird kind of universal religion.
Yeah.
It's just kind of bizarre. It seems like the kind of thing that would pop up in Star Trek, but we're also not far enough into the future to warrant that kind of change in humanity.
Right, but it does seem that like everything's pretty rosy
Yes.
on Earth right now.
I mean, there 100% there is world peace.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a weird movie. It is slow. I really enjoyed it, but it's not a movie that if somebody comes up to me and goes, "That movie fucking sucked. I hated every second of it. Why would you recommend it to me?" I would go, "I am sorry, but that is why I put a big asterisk next to my recommendation. It is not for everybody. I would not tell my parents to go watch this movie. Which at least one of these space movies that we're going to talk about, I recommend to absolutely everyone." So,
Okay. Yeah, we'll get to. I think it was smart for us to prepare to talk about more films because, like I said, I just didn't think that this movie was going to be, all that interesting. From buzz, not from concept. Conceptually, I thought it was going to be much better than I ended up receiving it.
And this does have about the same pretension level as like Darren Aronofsky's Mother.
Oof, I didn't even watch that. I just knew that I would not like it.
So, but yeah, it is slow. And it is, it's a movie you might fall asleep in. That's.
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing this a little late, of course, but it happens. But that's why we're doing multiple segments just to keep people who are uninterested in Ad Astra, and I don't think it was quite that successful at the box office. But we are going to talk about other space movies and maybe do like our top five space movies. Andy, what are your thoughts on some of these other space movies? Of course, well, actually. Anything else about Ad Astra before we move on?
No.
I feel like we might not have given it its due.
We'll save that for spoilers.
Should we do spoilers now?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, and if you skip about 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm gonna go. My quick spoiler takes. What? This movie's so stupid. The monkey in the space station. It cracked me up. I went when I saw the monkey, and I literally like lifted my hands up in like a what motion?
And it's such bad CGI.
It's terrible. I hated that. I hated that. I didn't hate the Moon Pirates. But I also didn't like where it's like, yeah, we know that they're gonna come attack us, but we'll get you there safely. And so what do? They bring a couple of cars that are not prepared to handle what the space pirates can do. It was nonsense. And then the scene where like he gets in the ship, he like sneaks onto the ship.
Yeah.
And like kills everybody. That's when I walked out. When they were like blindly following Spacecom or whatever, after like watching him save their lives, I was just like, yeah, no, and I walked out after that.
Yeah, and I mean that's part of the thing is that like Spacecom is its own like religion. It's like a dictatorship. Like everyone is just unquestioningly loyal to it until they're not. When oh man. Why can I not think
Ruth?
Yeah,
Ruth Negga.
Yeah. When the amazing Ruth Negga shows up, like she's the only one who like even comes close to questioning this. It's bizarre. And ultimately in the movie, once he finally gets there, the idea that no more of these missions came about since his father disappeared 27 years ago is just baffling to me.
Right, it's not functional to the type of universe that it's in. Nobody put any thought into creating these. Like they put thought into like the cool technology that they decided to include into the world, but not into like anything else. Right, plot wise, world building. Like who's like, hey, how much cool tech can we put in here? And that's it. That's all they thought.
Right. And it's not even like, oh, we're going to try to explain how somebody could survive for 27 years alone. Yeah. Either way. The ultimate message of the movie, though, when he finally sees his dad, and By the way, the first words to his son that his dad says, Ariel.
I read this somewhere.
Okay.
Go on.
But it's just, I never loved you. I never loved your mother.
So stupid.
Yeah. And then you find out it's because his dad is like a weird kind of perfect scientist who was willing to give up everything, is that like higher level of human being. He's a Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory.
Right.
And when he could not find any other life out in the universe after looking for 27 years, which, by the way, a scientist, an astronaut would understand how, even if you've been looking for 27 years, the universe is so freaking big. Like,
it's an astronaut movie written by somebody who doesn't understand space.
Right. Yes. It is an astronaut movie that's trying to be an existential movie and not a space movie. And Ariel, as I'm talking more about this, I am disliking this movie more and more. But I will say, the one thing, after killing all these people, Brad Pitt takes all the data and is able to get back to his ship and get back to Earth safely.
Right.
And blowing up the base and saving everyone. And Brad Pitt is pretty much forgiven for killing all those people. Like, he gets off scot-free because we're supposed to just say, like, oh, Spacecom wouldn't want it to come out poorly.
That makes sense, right? Where it's just like, but then, because like their perception to them is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything, and so that kind of makes sense to me,
right? But ultimately, the message of the movie, though, I said it's anti-science, not because of the religion running through it,
right?
But
right.
because they're just like, oh, we lost some people, we're never gonna do this again. But the whole thing is like, Tommy Lee Jones' character spent all of his time doing all this science and then decidedly did not see what he had in front of him. And Brad Pitt's character did not see the beautiful relationship he had with his wife either. Right, and it's this whole thing of like, we're looking out to the stars, but we should be looking after each other.
Yeah.
And that's the message I took from it. And that's why I don't like the ultimate message of the movie.
Yeah, so like I said, it's written by people who don't understand or maybe even don't like science, and it's a puzzling thing, like, why make this movie? It is very reminiscent of a Zack Snyder Superman movie, where it's like, dude, you clearly, don't understand and don't like this character. Why are you doing, like, why? I don't understand why you are making this particular movie if you don't like them. Go make another movie about terrible superheroes that doesn't include the most famous and like friendly superhero in the history of comic books.
Yeah. So let's get to these movies now.
Yeah, so let's do a quick, like, how do you want to approach this? We listed out a bunch of space movies, but should we rank them? Should we talk about which ones are our favorites? What makes a good space movie? What are you thinking?
I think we can just go through them and then kind of go over the rankings.
Sure. So the first one here, we have a movie that I actually haven't seen, and I'm almost too afraid to watch it at this point. It is one of my great gaps in not just geekdom, right, but like film entertainment. It's this and Breaking Bad. I've never seen Breaking Bad either.
I can forgive you for one of those.
2001: A Space Odyssey. Andy, what are your thoughts on this movie?
Okay, this movie is one of those movies that, turned me on to science fiction in general. It has a nonsensical 40-minute start that to a young person is not great, because it's all just chimpanzees and kind of going around. It's just beautifully shot. It's beautifully directed. They have an actual scientist help them with the script. As you might know, it's based on a book, but that book was written in tandem with the movie. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I will also probably never watch it again.
Yeah, see, I'm come to the point where it's just like, from what I've read about it, from what people have told me, or it's just like, yeah, it was great in 1970, whatever, 19, well, I don't know what year this came out, but like, I don't know if it's worth watching now, and I just don't feel the need to go back and and take a look at it X amount of years later.
It was 1968.
68. Okay. Oh wow. So even older than I would have, one of the oldest movies that I will continuously just watch and rewatch and enjoy is of course Star Wars, and I just that's 73. After that, it's just like, oof, this is old stuff.
I mean, this movie was made before we went to the moon. Remember that.
Oh yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, next movie is Interstellar.
Yes, love is I don't know. Love is like a special scientific force movie. That's the one.
Yeah. Okay, so 2/3 of the movie are great. But it falls apart so rapidly at the end.
Yeah. It's like a version of Ad Astra. I think Interstellar's highs are higher and Ad Astra's lows are lower, but still, you're like, yes, this is great. This is, oh, Matt Damon is,
Surprise, Matt Damon.
We'll get to him again later. I haven't rewatched it. I just don't. After that, like a bad ending will. Like a bad beginning just means I'll rewatch it and skip the beginning. But a bad ending means I will never watch a movie again.
Yeah. I don't have any desire to rewatch this movie either. As much as I want to have hope in Christopher Nolan, this movie did not solidify my hope in him.
It doesn't help that this movie was so great in the movie theater. And I don't think it would be as great outside of that movie theater. So there's that too.
All right. Next up, we have Event Horizon, directed by.
I've never.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I've never seen it.
Directed by the one, the only, the beautiful Paul Anderson. Right? That is right. Paul Anderson.
Maybe that's why I've never seen it.
If you say it fast enough, you'll think of P.T. Anderson and not Paul W.S. Anderson.
Right.
Famous for doing Resident Evil.
I've never seen it. Can you give me a couple sentence synopsis of it?
It is about. It's actually kind of like Ad Astra. A missing spaceship appears in orbit around Neptune, and astronauts come to take a look into it, and it's a whole thing about time travel and black holes, and it's a horror movie.
Okay.
It is not great. I don't recommend it. I just put it up here because I thought about it.
Yeah, I get that. Let's move on to the next one, a movie that I think was actually pretty good. Sunshine. And Sunshine has a pretty impressive cast. Let me look it up really quick. Basically, the premise of Sunshine is that they are flying to the sun to kind of jumpstart and reignite it. The cast includes Cillian Murphy. Is it Cillian or Killian?
I always alternate between them, so I'm wrong of only 50% of the time instead of 100% of the time.
Sure. Cillian Murphy, Michelle Yeoh, Hiroyuki Sanada, who you might not recognize the name, but he's in Endgame and he's in the Wolverine, and he's going to be Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat movie coming up. Rose Byrne from the First Class X-Men movie, Benedict Wong, who you know from Endgame and Doctor Strange, Captain America himself, Chris Evans. Mark Strong is in the film. It's got a great cast. It's one of those really interesting space movies. I actually watched this at home on my laptop and not in a theater.
I missed the theater train for this too, and it's one of those movies that starts in one genre and evolves to another genre that I won't spoil for you, but it changes very quickly.
I mean, this is almost another Annihilation in Space. Not quite, but close.
Well, it was written by Alex Garland, who directed it.
Okay. All right. I think I knew that. Yes. But yeah, you can see that kind of influence there. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, I must say.
Yeah. Next up, we have probably my spoiler alert favorite movie on this list, The Martian.
Okay, so that is the movie that is the recommend, right?
Yes, I recommend this movie to everyone. I think anyone can enjoy this movie.
I actually, it's not smart. I agree with you. I think the movie is really, really, I think it's fun. I think it has a perfect mix of drama, comedy, lightheartedness, heaviness, action, dramatic action rather. It's just such a well-made film. It's a good book. I can't say that about
Artemis.
I can't say that about it. Artemis, his other book. And it's partially his fault, partially not his fault. You feel bad because you know that like the publisher wanted him to make something really quick.
Yeah.
But The Martian is like one of those like, yeah, this is just a really good movie. It's enjoyable.
Right. It's got the hard sci-fi that I want. I mean, incredibly hard. If you read the book, there are actual calculations.
Yes, I did not read it. I actually audiobooked it.
Yeah. So
for the first.
It's just like this is a movie when Matt Damon was nominated for Best Comedy in the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
I didn't disagree. This movie's fun. This movie is, for me, it's a put on anytime. It is so full of hope. I'm gonna watch it tonight just thinking about it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a strong film on this list. Next up, we have Moon, directed by. Wow, I'm not prepared. There's so many movies I'm not prepared.
Duncan Jones,
son of
David Bowie.
So interesting thing about Moon. This movie came out. Everybody was in love with it. I watched it, really enjoyed it, and Duncan Jones was like the next big thing. And then he comes out with Warcraft. And then he comes out with Mute. And everyone's just like, oh.
Okay. Hold on.
Go on.
One. And this is very key here. Warcraft is a good movie. Okay?
Oh, geez,
but you have to love Warcraft. Like, you have to go in knowing the lore. And that's the problem.
Well, but then don't make that movie.
Right. Well, I believe that he was forced to make a 3-hour movie a 2-hour movie.
I didn't watch it, right? I certainly will buy into anytime a big budget movie with a big IP happens. I'm certainly anytime a report that comes out that says the studio interfered with it, I absolutely 100% believe it without a shadow of a doubt. Doesn't matter what the studio is. Disney, Sony, Fox, whatever. I absolutely believe that the studio will interfere. But that being said, like Warcraft is such a difficult property, and you have to start off really simple and be really smart about it. And it's just clear that they weren't. That being like them being the studio, the producers, the director, everybody has to look at Warcraft and say, we either do this right or we don't do it at all. And I think that's what happened. I think Peter Jackson said that, and they got it right. And then you look at something like this Uncharted film, and I think the smart directors, keep coming on wanting to make the movie this way, and the producers and the studio are like, no, you got to make it our way. And so people keep leaving. And I think that's what's happening with Uncharted. I think the same thing happened, of course, to Warcraft.
Right. Now, Duncan Jones also did Source Code, which is a movie I will go up to bat for. I think it's a lot of fun, especially for people who enjoyed Live, Die, Repeat or Day After Tomorrow. Check out Source Code.
I've never understood the hate behind that film.
Oh, So I will go ahead and tell you, it is because it was advertised as a rom-com, like as a romantic movie.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
That's how it was advertised?
Right. The trailers and stuff were really focusing on him reliving this day over and over again, but falling in love with this woman.
Oh, that's nonsense.
Right.
That's terrible.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's where a lot of the hate comes from, is that people thought it was a cheap sci-fi movie that was actually a romance movie. And instead, it's a really fun, suspenseful sci-fi movie that has like 2 scenes of anything even remotely romantic, and the editing house just stuck to that.
That sucks.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Duncan Jones, of course, and we're looking at Moon, and upon rewatch, and this is my earlier point, I don't think a single thing in that movie that made it so successful and enjoyable had anything to do with Duncan Jones.
It was all Sam Rockwell?
It was all Sam Rockwell. I think it was all Sam Rockwell. And I think that, I'd like to watch it one more time to confirm my suspicion. But, I came away with that movie thinking, wow, Sam Rockwell's awesome in this. I did not at any point think, wow, this movie is an amazing production of any sort, right? Like you would a Peter Jackson film.
Right. I can definitely get behind that 100%.
It's a theory, and I would need to rewatch and do a bunch of other stuff, but yeah.
And Sam Rockwell will be
okay.
up for geek royalty, I think.
I think so too. That's an interesting conversation to have. The next film I haven't seen either. I'm not big on movie experiences. To me, your story's got to be good, right?
Uh-huh.
Gravity. Did you watch Gravity in the theater?
I haven't seen Gravity.
No. We just don't care. I've heard it's an amazing theater experience, and unless you're going to watch it in the theater, it's literally not worth a watch.
Right. And at the time of my life when Gravity was out, I was just like, oh God, I don't know if I can stand a slow movie and be alone with my own thoughts for long enough.
Okay. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So we haven't watched Gravity. We should probably not talk about it like 2 entitled white men.
Yes, absolutely. Next up, Apollo 13. I haven't seen this since I was a kid, and so I can't have like Gravity. I can't have a valid opinion on it.
Right. Okay, so I'm actually in the exact same boat here. This is a movie that I loved as a kid because, what kid doesn't love astronauts?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean, it's just a fun, very real story of Apollo 13. That's all I can really say about it.
Yeah, maybe we'll revisit this conversation someday. It's an interesting movie to maybe look back and rewatch. The next 2 films on the list, Andy, I haven't seen, so why don't you share those?
So High Life. This is another slow, contemplative movie. So essentially, Robert Pattinson plays he plays a convict that this whole spaceship of convicts is kind of just hurtling towards a black hole, and he has a daughter, and I can't recommend it to people. Not because it's bad in any way. I can't recommend it to people because I don't want people to know that I enjoyed it.
Andy, you are allowed to have your guilty pleasures. Don't feel ashamed.
No. Like this is not a guilty pleasure. This is like a It's one of those movies that you never want your mom to read the synopsis of it and be like, "What is wrong with you?" It's got some very uncomfortable moments. I'll put it that way.
Okay, fair enough. And the last one here on your list.
You're right. I have not seen this movie. I just heard about it though, and I love the idea of this movie. It is a Swedish movie about a spacecraft carrying a bunch of colonists that kind of gets knocked off course on its way to Mars and slowly goes into chaos.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I haven't seen it. This was a movie that popped up.
All right. So that being said, let's rank the movies that we have seen here on our list. Andy, what are yours? Let's go from lowest to highest that you're on.
Okay, lowest is Event Horizon, no doubt.
Okay.
It's not good. Ariel, what's your lowest?
Right. Of the movies I've seen, so let's go Moon, Martian, Sunshine, Interstellar. Only 4? That's depressing. I'm gonna go. My lowest is. Wow, my lowest. Is it Interstellar? No, it's Sunshine. I like it. These are 4. No, it's Interstellar. Yeah, it's Interstellar. That sucks because I watched it and I was like, oh, wow, this is great, and then it wasn't. Right? It's great until it's not. So Interstellar was my lowest there.
Okay. I'm going to go with after Event Horizon. I'm actually going to go with Interstellar as well.
Okay. Yeah. It's a shame. That's a shame.
Well, no, I think it really talks about the strength of these other movies.
That is true, right? The movies are actually very, very good if you look at them. My next one is probably gonna be Sunshine. And I like Sunshine a lot. But like we said, like, you have to watch it. Maybe we'll revisit it. But like, you're like, this is really good until you're saying it's not.
Right. You have to be on board with the genre shift.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Andy?
I'm going to also go with Sunshine.
Okay. Hopefully we have a shift here in the next bit. What's my next film is probably Moon.
Right.
I'm guessing that's your next film.
Ad Astra.
Oh, if we're including Ad Astra?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ad Astra's last.
Well, you can't grade it though. You didn't see the whole thing.
I don't need to see the whole thing, Andy.
Okay. Then I'm just going to kind of rapid fire here. Moon, 2001, The Martian.
Okay, I'm gonna go Moon and then The Martian.
Yeah. So we both agree The Martian is number 1. Like The Martian, if you have not seen this movie, just watch it.
Yeah. So I recently listened to someone talk about the show Full Metal Alchemist and how it's not like it's I've never heard someone say it's the best anime or manga they've ever seen, but it's just the most easily recommendable, and like that's what it is. It's like yeah, it's not the best, it's not the most in depth, it doesn't have the best action, it doesn't have the best characters, but it's just so like it's so good across the board that like the sum of its parts mean that it's just so recommendable. I think that's The Martian.
Right. Yeah, this is the definition of broad appeal, right? This is like
Yes.
When you say broad appeal and you mean it as a good thing and not as like a watered down thing that is, ended up being less than what it could be because it tried to appeal to everybody. That's not The Martian.
Right.
This is one of the broadest movies I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's really well done, high production value, smart script.
It gave me hope. It gave me hope that Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant would be good.
And it wasn't. But yeah, that's our conversation on space movies, on Ad Astra, on Geek Royalty. We will have further conversations on some of these films. We will definitely have further conversations on Geek Royalty. But before we get out of here, Andy, what is your homework this week?
Okay, you know what? I was going to recommend a book, but all this space talk really wants to make me recommend a thriller comedy called Operation Avalanche.
Okay. It's a movie?
Yes, it is a movie. It is a sometimes dark comedy that's in the mockumentary style about two guys who attempt to who basically do the fake moon landing, right? They are CIA agents who are keeping an eye on NASA and trying to figure out a way to fake the moon landing. And there's something bigger. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I highly recommend it. No one of note is in this movie, but that doesn't matter. It's an independent movie. Go take a look at it. Operation Avalanche.
All right. My homework this week is the latest Destiny expansion has dropped called Shadowkeep.
Oh, no.
If you are a Destiny fan,
Oh no.
all right, perhaps it is time we as a group take a look and see if it's time to return. I have yet to return, Andy, but if enough of our audience and enough of my friends are telling me that it's a good expansion, I can be convinced to come back.
I just got out of World of Warcraft, Ariel.
Oh no.
Like,
well, I mean, come January, Andy, I am playing Monster Hunter.
Well,
you know, like
I'm playing with you. Don't worry.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized we haven't even talked about First Man or.
Yeah, that just came out too.
Yeah,
right?
it was like a year ago. That's how forgettable that movie was.
Yeah, like even the conversation about it, like, you know, we were just whatever.
Oh, what about Apollo 18?
Apollo 18?
Right, you know, we never went back to the moon. There's a reason why.
Oh,
it's a really bad found footage horror movie.
No thanks.
Sorry. I on my desktop right now is a bunch of space movies like Spaceballs and all these other ones. Don't watch Apollo 18. Don't even stream
yeah,
it.
Don't support things like that. All right, that is our discussion for this week. Andy, do we know what we're doing next week? Is there a film on the docket?
Yes, there is.
Oh no, what is it?
You really don't know?
No, I'm
Ariel, you're kidding, right? You're kidding. You're joking.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, Ariel, always a joker.
Have you seen what Todd Phillips has been saying?
Yeah. He's
Oh
not.
my God. Okay.
He's not making a case for himself.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you now, audience. I'm not if you're still listening. I'm not watching this movie. It's not getting my money. It's not getting my time. If the director has to come out and defend it by arguing against socially conscious people, you've lost me. Period. Full stop. I don't care what your movie is. If you have to come out and say this movie's not meant for people with a social conscience, then I don't need to see the movie.
Okay, Ariel, what about Netflix's Raising Dion?
Yes, so we mentioned this. We will. When does this come out? Excuse me.
This episode tomorrow.
No. Raising Dion, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Friday.
Okay, all right. So we will take a look at it, see the buzz it's getting, and definitely, perhaps take that.
And
take that. You know,
I might talk at Ariel describing the plot of the Joker.
Jeez. If we decide not to do Raising Dion, I think an alternative would to maybe be a maybe we'll look at something like Killing Joke or something Batman, something Joker, something.
Oh,
you know, maybe
Hush.
we look at 89 or something, or we look at Hush. We watched that nonsense movie or something. Something that's you know, not Todd Phillips nonsense film. All right, I'm fading here. It's 10:15 in my time, and I have school tomorrow. Andy, before we sign off, where can people find you online?
You can find me online on Twitter at Hebrews Pale Ale. Remember to send me your top 10 horror movies.
Oh yes, I am.
Scary movies.
I'm revisiting scary movies. I'm revisiting a couple of films. I'm rewatching.
Now,
The Thing.
If you can't do 10, that's fine. Give me your top 3. I just want to know what listeners like.
Yeah, definitely. I will have formulated my list by the time this comes out. But definitely do that. You can find me at Dread Pirate Roddy. You can find us at Geek101 Podcast on Twitter and Facebook and Patreon. Email us geek101pod@gmail.com. That's all we have for today. Class dismissed.